Hello guys, welcome to the next Banter Blitz of mine. I know that I promised to do that on Thursdays, but well, I got sick. That's why there were no streams of mine last week. There were no training Tuesday and the scheduled Banter Blitz on Thursday. So, rescheduled one today, right now. I'm going to play several good games, I hope. As usual, would be very helpful to know if the stream is fine. I mean, the quality of the picture, of the sound, and so forth. And let me just go to the playing venue and see what's going on with the challengers. Okay, so we have several at the moment, and I can see the one coming from Terrible Bad. We have never played before, so I'll accept this one to start with. Okay, Terrible Bad exactly says, hi, stream good. Alright, so let's play then. I accepted your challenge, Terrible Bad. I'm playing with black pieces, so e4. Alright, let's try d5. And queen takes d5. And queen to a5. So classic Scandinavian with the queen on a5. Nowadays, majority of players prefer queen to d8. Well, it's a very solid yet passive opening. With the queen on a5, the things are much more interesting, I guess. The only problem is that, to be completely honest, well, it's not entirely correct, especially this knight c6 line. But it usually leads to some interesting dynamic positions. So I'm going to try this. Alright, bishop d2 is one of interesting choices against knight c6. I have to be very careful now because there are some threats. Like, knight jumps somewhere and my queen is under attack. I'm not completely sure that it isn't, something really dangerous. So let's just continue the normal development, like bishop to g4. Oh, pawn holder is here. Wow. Great. Haven't seen for ages. I mean, within my shows, I suppose we have never ever seen each other in real life. But who knows? You never know, I mean. Azure Mist is also here. I have also noticed Sebi among challengers. Very good, guys. I'm really happy you tried to follow each and every stream of mine. So, White is thinking of what to do now. There are plenty of quite interesting continuations, including just normal development moves as well as something like, I don't know, knight c3 jumping somewhere. Bishop goes to e2. Okay, I don't want to say it's a passive move, but probably not the most ambitious one, for sure. Okay, so what can I do now? There is probably a possibility even to take on f3 and to take on d4. Then bishop takes b7, I play something like queen e5 check, forcing the knight to e2, then rook to b8, or maybe rook to d8, I don't know which one is better. There is always king f1, I guess. So, I'm not sure it's great. So maybe just a castle long here. Why not, after all? I don't see anything wrong with this move, so gonna just castle. But after castling, I no longer protect f7, so maybe there was something like knight g5. I'm not entirely sure how I'll protect f7. Maybe I'll just leave it hanging, like taking on d4. On the other hand, bishop on g4 is hanging, so will be not so simple for me, for sure. So after knight g5, let's say bishop takes e2, knight takes e2, protecting d4, attacking my queen with the bishop from d2. Queen goes somewhere, then knight takes f7. But maybe in that case, if I take on e2, knight takes e2, I can play queen d5, protecting f7. But my queen on d5 could have been quite vulnerable in that case. So I'm not really happy with that line in general. Okay, now I can take on f3 and take on d4. I can also consider queen h5. I think taking the pawn on d4 is something very simple. And I don't see the refutation, so let's just take. Power of Knights asks, do you think that Sicilian-Moscow variation, bishop b5 check, on the third move is playable for white? Isn't it too drawish? I guess you mean knight f3, d6, and then bishop b5 check. That's okay. I mean, everything is playable nowadays. Even completely drawish lines, like, for example, e4 takes d5 against Caro-Kann. Well, people play that, even at the very top. And it's fine. I mean, it's no longer about getting the advantage right from the opening stage. I believe your task is something like to get normal position that you understand, that you're comfortable with, and just to play chess. That's it. So after bishop b5, there are so many different options and possibilities. I wouldn't consider it entirely drawish or something. I think it's okay to play something like that. It's not that ambitious, of course, but it's fine. They can get this e4, c4 pawn structure after that. There is also a possibility just to castle quickly and to play c3, d4. Depends on how your opponent reacts. Okay, bishop g4 check. Not necessarily that dangerous as well. So, I mean, I can even ignore that bishop. Okay, let it be there on g4. I can simply take it and play f5. But I guess why not e6 here? I'm just preparing the development of my dark script bishop. So, where to put it now? Bishop b4 looks good. Maybe just going away with the queen right now would be also fine. So something like queen h5. Offering trade of queens, and now c2 is under pressure. I have healthy extra pawn. I don't see great compensation. Now I'm 2 pawns up. Takes on e3. Alright. What to do now? f7 is hitting. So probably knight f6 should be played. Then I goes to b5. Then I can play c6. Yeah. I'm completely fine here. Moreover, I have amazing advantage in the sense of time on the clock. So my opponent lost on time here. I think that after knight c6, this bishop d2 is very interesting. But after bishop g4, I believe that something like H3 immediately deserved serious attention. So like H3, if I take on F3, then queen takes, and after knight takes D4, if you were afraid of this move, you can just take on B7. My rook is hanging. If I take on C2 now, you can just play king D1. And if I take here, you can take my rook. You can also start with bishop B5, which is even stronger. I think black is just lost in this particular line. So it was one possibility with the idea of playing G4 against bishop H5. Just typical thing, forcing the bishop to G6, then maybe bishop B5, and then knight to E5. Another option is just bishop B5 immediately, very typical thing against knight C6. Queening the knight, intending to damage the pawn structure, and indirectly protecting D4. And one more possibility is knight to B5, which is very logical after you played bishop to D2, attacking my queen and attacking C7. So my only move is queen to B6, where after I think you can consider playing something like bishop to F4, attacking C7 again. And who knows? It's not so simple to protect everything here. If I play knight D5, bishop goes away, then C4. Maybe bishop F4 is a bit early. Probably you can try also something like A4, just intending A5, I don't know, trapping my queen. This position starts looking terrible for black. I guess it's very close to lost one. I mean, if I play A5, saving the queen on the board, this knight stays on B5 for a long time. You can try something like C4 now, also quite aggressive with the idea of C5. Again, sort of trapping my queen. I don't know, it feels like just a lost position. I don't know. Alright. So I believe that against bishop d2, black has to make something else. Bishop g4 is probably the wrong move. Which one to choose? I don't know. Maybe bishop f5 is correct in this particular case. Maybe immediate queen to h5, but then again, knight b5 is quite annoying. Okay, thanks for the game. Let's go further. So let's have a look at somebody I've never ever played before. I will play like 3 games against these guys, and then I will come back to normal order of challenges. Friedel from Germany, no games so far, so accept the challenge. And again, black pieces, this time d4, closed. Opening, okay, bishop f4, London. Let's play. d5, c5, typical stuff against London. Okay, and with the knight on d2, the idea of queen b6 is not that great. So here I usually play e6. And just develop my bishop to d6. I think it's quite natural. Okie dokie. So this f4 makes sense most likely because white wants to play knight f3 after that, and then knight to e5, which is not possible if white first develops knight on f3 because I control e5 square sufficiently. But white has to understand that without darks with bishop, e3 is quite weak. So maybe at some point I'll have a chance to attack it. A3 is very good move, I think, because I actually intended to play something like cd4, and then knight to b4, attacking the bishop, and if bishop goes away, then bishop b5, controlling that long diagonal and d3 square. Now it's not possible. It doesn't mean that black's position is bad. It's just harder for me to get active counterplay on the queen side. What to do? Basically, I can start with this move. So rook to c8. Now I guess cd4 is okay. Opening the c file for my rook. Now let's just castle. Okay, so definitely taking on e5 is a big blunder. I wanted to bring my knight to e7. It's a typical square for the knight in this case. I mean, I control f5 additionally. Maybe intend to bring my knight to f5 at some point. Knight g6 is also typical. Possibility to cover diagonal b1 h7 if necessary. But right now I want to try the following thing. So queen b6, since my bishop on d7 is protected, I think I can make this move. Attacking b2, but not only that. My main idea here is to try bishop b5 to get rid of my light squared bishop, which is quite bad. Which is just like a French one. I mean, in the French defense you have sort of similar bishop. White decided to take it with the knight. Okay. What about knight f5 now? Attacking e3. Probably intending to bring that knight to d6 if it will be attacked a bit later. Oops. I've blundered something. So I blundered the pawn on d5. Basically what I wanted to do is to take on b3 first, probably. And then to play knight f5. Okay. Because now if I take on b3, bishop h7 follows. King h7, knight b3, rook to c2, rook to f2, then another rook to c8. Okay, I have some compensation for missing pawn, but maybe not sufficient one. Probably it's okay, probably it's a normal position. Because if I take on f5 immediately, then queen takes d5, so what? Knight on d7 is hanging, I can take on b2. Knight will go away somewhere. And then maybe rook to c2. Could be also interesting for me. Interesting, I don't know. Probably queen takes b3 was correct. At this very moment. But white decided not to take. Which is good news for me. Okay, now b6, just covering c5, making my knight free. And, okay, I have weakened pawn on d5, but white has on e3. So my weakness is on the close file, while white's weakness is on the open file. But I think white is going to exchange the rook so that it will no longer matter. Alright. Anyway. I still have a feeling that my pawn structure is a bit better here. Probably it's not something that matters. Okay, let's activate our knight. Only 1 minute left. It's a bad thing. For now, we can say that white probably doesn't have threats. Doesn't mean that position will remain silent like this. Let's try to activate the king. Aha. This may be interesting, but at the same time it can be completely drawish. Maybe not that drawish. Or maybe it is. Well, basically, what we have here is a typical case. So I'm winning now. I have more space. It's absolutely lost position for white because I have... Look at this. I have h6. That's the thing. And now I'm going to b3. And from there, I have absolutely direct access to e3 pawn with the help of this zigzag movement. So white somehow underestimated the power of black's position here. Knight takes c4 was probably a mistake. So now I have absolutely winning position. Okay. That was nice. That was a nice win. Never ever underestimate the complexity of king and pawn endings. They're not as simple as they look like. So, yeah, here I think it's over after a4. Because I have extra tempi like h6 and b5, for instance, if white closes the position right now. So before king c4 doesn't help white. I mean, there is an opposition, but I have extra move. This b5. And it's over. Now I go either to d3 or to b3. So king c3 was correct. I play king to a5, and I'm just waiting. So if white plays something like, king b2, then king a4, king a2, b5. So I have more space here, and I'm just winning the same way like in the game. So mainly because of this h6. Because look, if there is no h6, there is no win. So let's say here and here, it's clear. But even if there is an opposition with black's turn to move, let's say black is to move here, then black has h6. If the pawn is already on h6, obviously it's a draw because white just holds the opposition, and that's it. All right, so I think exchanging knights was a mistake. After that, black has advantage in space and very simple plan. Maybe it's a draw with a super accurate play, but it doesn't look like that. All right, next game. Let's have a look at challengers. Somebody I've never ever played before. Wisdomatic. No games so far, except. Wisdomatic from United States. Here we go. One more game with black pieces, and again d4. Let's go. This time something more classic. So g3 leads to Catalan. Bishop b4 is one of the possibilities here, with the idea of bringing the bishop to e7 only after white occupies d2 with the bishop. But I'm pretty much okay with this version of closed Catalan as well. So 92 main line. e4 now. Yeah. And knight a6. This tricky move. Not only intended to put the knight on b4, but also supporting c5, so it's not that stupid position for the knight. I mean, you may be wondering what is going on if white just plays a3. Alright, in that case, my knight just supports c5. Obviously now, if I take on d5 with the pawn, and white plays a3, it will be not that great for my knight a6. The only possibility will be to bring it to c7, so instead, I'm just playing knight b4, attacking the queen, and taking d5 pawn with the knight. This has advantages and disadvantages. Obvious advantage is that my knight will be very good on d5 for a long time, probably till the end of the game, because there is no possibility for white to attack it with pawns from adjacent files, let's say. There are no pawns on adjacent files being able to attack my knight d5. Disadvantage is that I no longer control e4 square, so white's knight can be activated as well. Rook e1. Not sure what's the point behind this move. I can undermine d4 right now with the help of c5, so I think there is nothing wrong with this move. Let's do it. Another typical idea was to play something like h6 first. The point is, after knight goes to either c4 or e4, mainly when the knight goes to e4, there is a strategic threat of playing bishop g5, exchanging my dark squared bishop, and then the knight from c4 or e4 gets to d6. So h6 is anyway somehow forced, at least after knight to e4. After knight to c4, I'm not forced to play this h6. There is no threat of bishop g5. So I can focus on something more useful. I guess rook to c8 is okay. Queen to c7 is okay. Even cd4 followed by knight c5 looks fine for black. I don't know which move exactly is the best in this particular case. Well, actually, if I play queen c7, there is exactly bishop g5. So I think I'll continue with the rook c8. Occupying the C file in advance. It will be opened very soon. I'm not that afraid of knight d6. I will just capture that knight, and pawn on d6 will be quite vulnerable. Maybe I will just win it immediately. Say knight d6 takes d4, knight d4, knight c5, attacking the queen, and then takes on d6. One of possibilities. Another possibility is just to take on d6 and then to play knight d7 to f6. Also not that bad. So I guess black is already quite good here. Black is better developed, which is not something that you can see often after the opening stage. My knight on d5 is nearly perfect piece. I have this annoying pressure on central d4 square, and if d4 falls, then e5 may become an object of attack as well. Right, so white decided finally to take this direction. So knight d6 takes. Alright, so as I said before, this pawn on d6 will be quite vulnerable. What is the right way to treat this pawn? It's very tempting, just to play c4, maybe c3 even after that. But in that case, white will have a chance to protect the pawn d6 because of queen a3 or something. Another possibility for me, as I said before, is just to take on d4, knight takes d4, and then knight c5, attacking the queen. And most likely just grabbing that pawn very soon after. And the third one is just knight d7 to f6. And so I have a feeling that this is the most ambitious continuation because I'm simply attacking d6 here right away. I don't give my opponent a chance to take my knight on d5 and then to play bishop f4, just like in the line with c takes d4. So it feels like I'm very close to win the pawn. Alright, in this case I just take the bishop. That's the whole point of having the knight on d5. It controls a lot of squares. Now just queen takes d6, right? Strategically winning position. In addition to extra pawn, I have much better pawn structure. Okay. Bishop is hanging on b7, so let's take on g2 first. Then, a lot of interesting moves. A lot of good ideas here, so let's just play some like knight d5. Attacking f4. Again, replacing that previous knight on this great square. Rook c2 is a good follow-up. Maybe after f6. I don't know. Maybe I should play... I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't. Yeah, I have a feeling that this may be a good idea. Just attacking the knight. Getting rid of this centralized knight. And then after knight goes away, I can play rook c4, attacking f4 again. That's after all white's main weakness at the moment. So why not? Rook c2 was also playable, but I don't think that b2 pawn matters. f4 is much more valuable target. If I manage, of course, to get it. Not so simple. And I have no time. I have to be much faster. I have to be much faster now. Yeah. I did something wrong, definitely. Not the perfect conversion of the advantage for sure. Still, position looks fantastic for black. So everything is more or less under control. This a4 was, of course, just a stupid move. Alright, so at the very end, I started playing badly, to be completely honest, so it was not a convincing conversion of the advantage, but most likely after knight e6 takes and all this, I was already better. But I do believe bishop f4 was not the best move, was not the best try. What was the best try, in my opinion? Something like knight d4, maybe. I'm not quite sure. But in that case, I still can take the pawn. And if knight b5, at the very least, I have queen to b8. I think I'm fine there as well. So this knight on d5, as we may notice, is very powerful. It controls just everything around. Especially this bishop on c1 is struggling because of that knight. Alright, in any case, thank you very much. One more interesting thing here, probably knight to e4 is the right move. Maybe even here, right now. Creating a positional threat of bishop to g5. And black is more or less forced to play h6 here, where after rook usually goes to d1, trying to fight this c6, c5 plan. After that, you can take... Well, it's still possible with such a knight on d5. It's not really something that stops me from playing c5, but in any case, I think position of the rook on d1 is much more logical than on e1. because d file at some point will be open, and you need the rook on the open file, not on the closed one, I do believe. So, yeah, that's sort of recommendation. But in general, black is alright after e5, so probably if you want to play for the advantage, you should consider playing something like a3 here. Okay, let's go further. One more against somebody I've never ever played before, and then back to normal order of challenges. Assassin in white from Kazakhstan, 28-22 and 3 minutes. Well, it will be a disaster for me because I'm quite, slow these days. So I will try to play faster in this game. Kramnik student asks, is this a new showtime? No. Thursday is the normal time. This week I was just very sick. That's why I was forced to reschedule in general. Okay, so rook e8 is definitely not a theoretic move or something in this position, but it leads with the transposition to something more or less theoretic. Okay. So with the rook on e8, probably it's much more logical to play e6, e5 plan. But I'm not really satisfied with that plan. So I'm trying to find other ways. And this c5, which is absolutely standard for this line of Nimzo-Indian, may be sort of solution to my struggling with e6, e5 in this type of positions. Alright, so if I want, I can still play d5. But I don't really want to force the matters, because I think my rook on e8 is not very well placed. It's better to have it here on d8 to have knight e8, but white decided to play d5. That's interesting. That's interesting. So if I take on d5, the idea being just to take with the rook or what? Probably yeah. Nah, it's annoying. That's what I missed. So I have to play e5 now for sure. My bishop is quite passive there, so let's try to maneuver the pieces somehow to bring this bishop back to life. I mean, through c8 most likely. Okay. f4 is not necessarily that big threat. Still annoying though. So let's bring the queen to e7. Super passive, I know. But As we may notice, I managed to limit the dark squared bishop, which is very important. And now I'm going to exchange my stupid bishop. Please to try that, yeah. I managed to do that. Now I guess I can even take here. So feels like okay for black now. With that bishop on b2. Maybe I'm overestimating my position. But if knight e4, then rook e2 check and takes b2. So why cannot activate the bishop that way? Or the knight, sorry. So what to do now? Rook to e3 is probably not the best move, so let's play this first. Bring the rook to the open file. Now I wanted to try something like this. Attacking the bishop. Now I think this should be okay. Okay. I think it's very close to winning. Here is the checkmate. Checkmate, very nice one. Okay, good fighting game. At some point, of course, White probably had a great advantage. Because for sure, this position was very, very passive. But White somehow failed to activate his pieces. I think it was much more interesting in this situation to try something like, okay, g3, bishop g2 first, then e4, then just slowly bring the bishop to c1 to e3, and then at some point f4. I understand that if you manage to play f4, it's better to have the bishop on b2, but almost always I'm going to meet that with the help of f7, f6. So maybe playing something like g3, bishop, g2, e4, and then f4 could have been a bit more promising for White. But anyway, interesting game. Okay. So what's going on here? Did you appreciate this game? Back to normal order of challenges. Onam was first this time. 3 plus 2. Unrated. Alright, so I can play basically everything, right? If it is unrated. Yeah, so Assassin missed E takes f4. Yeah, E takes f4 was very annoying for sure. Because G takes f4 doesn't work in the view of knight h4. And if you take on f4, then I take on e1. That is what happened in the game. That's true. That's true. If there is no E takes f4, yeah, black is struggling. But I think even if there is no E takes f4, black is not necessarily lost. So like queen d7 maybe, trying to simplify the position a bit. I mean, it will be very hard for White to activate the bishop, having this pawn structure. Onam, where are you? Are you gonna play? Yeah, his way. Okay, abort. Sorry. Next one. Triacon or Triacon, accept. Black pieces. That is not fair. I mean, I didn't really play the previous game. Ah, come on. Okay. Roy Lopez. Azurmis says, okay, tomorrow King Crusher is fun to play with. He plays by order of challenges. I'm basically doing the same usually. But first I play several games with newcomers. Okay, knight c3. That's something new to me. I mean, it's a very old move, of course. I know this move exists. I just don't remember what was the last time I actually encountered this over the board. Trying to quickly figure it out. What's the difference if compared to d3 order of moves? I don't think there is a big difference, so I might be wrong completely, but Chronic Student says, an IM guy who was bragging in chat happened to be a cheater. Which one? Do you mean this previous episode? I do remember one international master who was from France. He was asking for a game like 500 times. Do you mean that guy? Or somebody else? Alright. So that was that guy. Happened to be a cheater. Interesting. Running out of coffee. But that's okay. Previous game, I mean, how the previous game finished, I mean, that checkmate is something that is much stronger than coffee. So, so the guy who you said IMs are normally modest. It's an interesting statement. Not each and every international master is like me. I mean, so, okay, what to play now? Have a strong feeling that I somehow misplayed this position. But okay. I'm still more or less fine. Dun G is here. Hello, my friend. Bishop goes to e3. Okay, bishop f6. I think is something logical. The only problem, I cannot really play knight to e7, which I wanted to do after bishop f6. That was basically the idea. To free this square, because there is bishop a7, very annoying move. On the other hand, maybe in that case I can sacrifice the exchange. Here's what I mean. So if I play knight e7, let's say, bishop goes to a7, I take on d5. Yeah, especially after c3, it starts looking very tempting to sacrifice the exchange this way. Bishop a7, My rook cannot really move to a8, and c8 fails to bishop b7, and the rook is trapped. But I wanted to take on d5, after bishop takes b8 to take on c3 with the tempo, then maybe to put my knight on a4. This bishop has to go to a7. I have a pawn for exchange, pair of bishops, so could have been an interesting position. But white decided not to do that. Maybe correct, maybe not. What to do now? Knight g6, bishop g4, g6 are candidate moves. I think g6 is the most logical. To put the bishop on g7 and to play f5 at some point. Can I just play bishop g7 here? Oh, it's awful. Whew. This is just a very bad game of mine. Yeah. He takes c5, and now if I take with the pawn, then just bishop c5. White has an overwhelming position. Okay, maybe it's still playable after my bishop back to f6. Yeah, maybe I'm still in the game. Maybe I'm just overestimating the power of white's pieces. True, if I play rook e8 here, for example, there is knight g5. Very annoying, but I have a feeling that I can still play this game if I play bishop f6. Simple as that. Now I'm ready to move my bishop away. So knight is protected, g5 is protected, e5 is protected. So I can play bishop somewhere, simplify the things, and hope for equality at some point. Queen d2. Alright, let's bring the bishop here. So again, the things are getting interesting because we both have only 1 minute on the clock. Oh, that's amazing blunder. I mean, bishop takes e7 is so simple. Yeah, it's just completely lost now. Oh my goodness, that was just the worst game of mine. The worst game ever. Like, everything is hanging here. Gosh. Yeah, it's lost. It's lost. My only hope is that white will make a mistake in the time trouble. It will be very hard, of course, for white to make a mistake in such a position, but you should never lose hope. Mm, yeah. I know it's lost. Maybe it's no longer lost. Look, I've collected so many pawns. Oops. Come on! Take that pawn. Take that rook. One more pawn. I was so close, but I lost anyway. Okay, I deserved losing this game because I misplayed it completely. Yeah, but at the very end, somehow I managed to, you know, confuse my opponent a bit with probably so stupid moves or something, but yeah, okay. Never mind. Never mind. That was really close. So just yeah, at the very end, I needed 1, 2, 3 moves more at least for a draw, right? To take that pawn. Come on. Anyway, somehow, yeah, I completely missed White's plan there. So this, first of all, knight a5 was too early. First of all, you have to castle here. So I gave my opponent this extra tempo. Probably c5 deserved attention in this particular case. Alright, so after this, White is obviously better. At least a bit. Yeah. And here d4 is ready, so maybe it was much more interesting for me to try something like bishop e6, trying to exchange that bishop. Maybe bishop to c6, preventing immediate d4. Maybe intending to play d5. g6 was too slow. At least here I should have played knight to c6. Protecting e5, preventing this very bad for me simplification. So now White's pieces are much more active. So strategically, this position is very close to losing for black. Maybe queen d2 was not the right way. Because at the bishop g4, queen d8, after all, I could have played this, rook b to d8. No, it's still very bad. Okay, so bishop g4 was not possible. Then maybe queen to d2 was okay. Yeah, that's right. After that, position is just lost. Oh, shit. I cannot look at this. Congratulations. So, that was a good game for my opponent. Sebi is next. Accept. So, I predict some beating. So, Sebi, and the next is Pawn Holder. Yay. Let's go. Don't want to repeat e5 after previous game. c4. Aggressive. Some strong lineup today, says Kramnik student. Where is your challenge, my friend? Donji, by the way, did you challenge? We have not played for, I don't know, centuries. So, I know that probably knight c6 should be played first. But I think it's not that big problem for me to change the move order here. Now e6, protecting d5. You're maybe wondering why knight to c8. Well, first of all, it's a typical thing, but the question is why it is a typical thing. Because this knight is going to go to f5, in fact. That's basically the main plan and the main idea behind this line of Elohim defense, I think. At least I was taught the thing when I was a kid. Alright. And now to f5. To attack d4 at some point. Okay, a3 prepares b4. Do I really have anything against b4? I don't think so. So let's just continue with what was planned. Knight to f5. Exerting some pressure on d4. Bishop goes to g4. This bishop is not necessarily good. So maybe I can try this move. I don't want to exchange my knight for that bishop. Unless it is the f3 square. Of course, here I'm more than okay with taking it. Now let's jump to h4. Okay, white probably missed this h5 move. Okay, now it should be very pleasant to play. First, let's maneuver the knight towards f5. This stops me from playing f5, but I believe not for a long time. What about queen f6 with the idea of h4? Queen f4 results interesting. Okay. Now knight to f5 still looks good. Bishop h6. Yeah, it's very pleasant to play such a position when you have so many different maneuvers, many different options to bring your pieces to better squares. Okay, now f4 is my main target, I suppose. So let's go to h5. The square g7 became possible to occupy with the knight after bishop h6. Now my knight can go to h5 with the pressure against f4. I can put my queen on f5, and little by little I'll improve my position. From h5, by the way, and queen f5, my knight can go to f6 and then maybe to e4. So I effortlessly find new squares for my pieces. That is very pleasant stuff. Okay, knight h5. Bishop to c1 most likely will be played. Okay, my opponent decided to resign here, probably a bit prematurely, but I can imagine how it feels. Because when I was young, I've played so many, positions of this sort. Being the defendant side. So it's really awful. You're just slowly dying, and there is nothing you can do with this. Okay, so the problem was with the move order. I believe there is a possibility usually to prevent this sort of simple plan for black. Normally, you don't have to develop your bishop to b2 so early. Yeah, so there is the line. When you put the bishop on e3, rook on c1, and you just delay the development of the knight g1 altogether, kind of depriving me of bishop g4 possibility. In any case, that was an interesting game, and I hope quite instructive. for you, Sebi. So, pawn holder, there will be just beaten 3,014 points. Okay. What is our score, by the way? I have 2, my opponent has 5. And we've played exclusively within Banter Blitz episodes. Alright. So, Rui Lopez, probably there will be, again, this knight c3. No. There will be something else. So, Smyslov variation. As far as I remember, in the vast majority of games against pawn holder, there was a critical moment where I made wrong decisions, and in many cases that was because of the lack of time. So I have to be faster this time. I have to try at least. Okay, d5, close in the center, right here. As far as I remember, it's okay to play knight a5 here. And then just to play c6. If before the knight c4. Again, if I'm not mistaken, there was an old game between Ostrovskiy and Psachis. It was exactly this d5, if I'm not mistaken. And several years ago, I've played something very similar in my Aeroflot game against Marat Jumaev. So, again, something very similar to this. Maybe I'm confusing something, but feels like the same. It feels like a okay position. Feels like a good position for black. Okay. It's an interesting question where to put the bishop to e6, controlling c4, which is not necessarily that important. Or maybe bishop to b7, attacking e4. I don't really know what is more important in this particular case. Let me guess that exerting pressure on e4 may give me more chances than just controlling c4. But putting the bishop on e6 was just very solid. Zurmis says Pepe Cuenca. Unfortunately, I didn't follow the chat completely, entirely. During last minutes. So what is with Pepe Cuenca? Want to try out a commentator again, Andrey? Asks Kramnik student. Yeah, maybe one day. That was a nice experience. Not against pawn holder though. So Pepe Cuenca has both a GM and PhD and said that achieving a GM title was much harder than the PhD. I can imagine. That's right. Should be harder for sure. I would say that PhD is not a GM title. I would compare it to 22, 2300s or something. Okay, let's take this. What's going on now? If I take on a1, probably the bishop takes, right? Because if rook takes, I can take the pawn on e4. So bishop takes, then probably rook to b8 is possible. Attacking b4 pawn and preparing bishop b5. Or maybe d5. Okay, I think I have to take here. I have to try it at least. d5 is also a very interesting move. Like d5, bishop d5, and then takes on f3. Isn't it great in general? Should I even move my rook? I don't think so. b4 is also under pressure, by the way. Rook on e8 is not henning. Let's start with this move, I think. Now I can take on f3 if I want. I can also take on b5 and play rook b8. I can also take on b5 and take on b4. No, that is probably not possible. I'm a bit confused. Okay. Okay, let's take there. I think it should be something very close to a draw. Oops. I'm not quite sure what's going on here. I'll probably lose on time here. It's very PT. Okay. I won or it's a draw? What happened? It says it's a draw. All right, nice. So basically, I have a bit more time on the clock, but obviously it's insufficient material to mate. So that's why it's a draw. All right. Interesting game. There was a critical moment somewhere around the move d5, and somehow it felt like I'm grabbing the initiative, but I didn't manage to achieve anything after that. So rook takes a1. Maybe rook takes a1 was the wrong move in the first place. I'm not quite sure. But alright. That felt okay. Maybe d5 was just too much. Maybe just too early. I also consider something like rook c8 or rook b8, both looking quite good. Rook c8 is probably not that great, in fact, because if... However, even after rook c1, I have bishop to d7, right? After rook c8, there is queen a6, a tricky sneaky move. Maybe rook b8 to start with, just attacking b4, and then d5. For example, if white passively protects the pawn, then d5 might be quite annoying. b4 is not really handy because my bishop on c6 is not protected, by the way. So probably here white has something like rook c1. Maybe rook b8 was not good. Alright, d5 was so tempting not to try it. Maybe here I missed something. What about, say, e4 move? Then bishop takes f6 and my rook is hanging. So e4 definitely doesn't work. For now, nothing is hanging, so probably I can even take on b4, right? Bishop takes b4. But then rook e5 is possible, for instance. No, it should be just equal position, right? Don't know. Engine should say. So, thanks a lot for this game. The Clasher is next. Accept. It's not that bad, right? Not that bad performance this time. Against strong players, I have 50%, right? Draw against pawn holder, win against assassin, and lost to whom? Forgot the nickname. Sorry for that. But also 2600s plus. Triacon, right? Yeah. So I consider it a success because, as I told you probably several times after I came back from Ukraine, I just don't have the time for training right now, for my personal training. I mean, I don't play chess on internet. I don't play chess in real tournaments. So my form, my shape is just very bad. B6. Bishop B2. Bishop B7. Okay, position is pretty much balanced. Okay, let's just develop the pieces and, I don't know, play in the center at some point. So knight c3, castles, rook d1, rook c1, d4, something like this. I may also consider something like cd5 at some point. The mic is doing scratch noises, says Azure Mist. Like continuously, or it was just a quick episode and it's over now. Let me know, please, Azure. Is it about my microphone in general, or so? What's this? D4. Is it a threat? Takes. I goes away somewhere. No, I don't think it's a threat. So let's just castle. I've got a feeling that I will be outplayed in this game, simply after D4 or something. Especially when you were playing with pawn holder. Well, maybe I don't know. It's the sound of me using the touchpad or something. Maybe you can hear some clicks, or it's different. Because I don't know. I must say that the microphone is placed normally. Maybe I was too close to the microphone. Right, let's play this strange move. Black should make a decision at some point what to do with the center. If Black is not going to make this decision, I will make this decision for him. Okay. You're maybe wondering why on earth I've played rook to d1 from a1, not from f1. Well, because I expected d5, d4, and I didn't want to, put my knight on b1. Instead, I wanted to put it. Sorry, I didn't want to put it on d1. Instead, I wanted to put it on b1 and to have my rook not locked there in the corner of the board. That was the idea behind it. Of course, having that Black didn't play d5, it was much better for me to try another rook. It would be much more interesting to have one rook on c1 and another one on d1 in a similar situation. That's clear, of course. Right now, knight a4 is a possibility. D takes c5 followed by knight a4 looks even more interesting. Should I play this knight a4 right now? Then knight goes to e4. Oh. To start with bishop d3. Yeah, let's try this move. c4. What's this? That's interesting. So if I take on c4, what's going on? What's happening? Knight to a5? Alright, I can go back to e2. Knight to e5, I can simply take. Okay, maybe knight a5, bishop e2, and something like bishop e4 and knight e4. Attacking my knight. Yeah, this may be annoying. This may be annoying. I have only 40 seconds, so let's go to f5. Don't want to mess with this open C file. Feels like I'm not ready. And this is what if I play this, attacking the queen? Knight d5 was also very strong, come on. I'm playing like a batter in this game, I'm just missing these great opportunities. I'm playing some sort of bullshit instead. Look at this, I won this pawn on h7, which makes me not happier. It definitely doesn't make me happy at all. So extra pawn, but black has this amazing passer, and my knight is completely misplaced there. My goodness. What a patter. Playing with white. Oh. Nine seconds. Come on. Yeah, it's lost now. Whew. That was amazing. The clasher just annihilated me at the very end. Yeah, so that was alright, but come on, why didn't I play knight to d5? So as Hermes says, Andrey, watch your show on YouTube, you will hear the mic problem. I believe this is just a dying mic. Oh my goodness. It would be very bad if it is the case. So knight to d5. What to do? I mean, I don't see a good move for black, so probably queen to d6, knight takes f6. It's over. So after knight d5, white is just simply winning. Okay, queen d5 is possible. I mean, it's probably just forced to sacrifice a queen, and black has, very first glance, a compensation, but it's not more than compensation. I mean, something like e4, then e5, just smashing. All right. Okay. Anyway, that was completely my fault. I didn't play that. Let's play the last game. I wanted to play against Don G if he challenged, but I don't see a challenge from Don G. So I'm going to play against Azure. I think we haven't played for ages as well. And Azure is one of the oldest followers. So Chespier says, I don't hear noises. Am I deaf? Yeah, that's interesting. I should definitely try watching this on YouTube. After the show. But that's sort of, you know, Very surprising stuff. Because nearly yesterday I was testing this microphone once again. So I'm actually using it each and every day, and everything looked more or less fine, you know. So that was my idea. I wanted to try knight g4 followed by f5 if possible. Sort of, you know, active approach against this stuff. That's why white usually plays h3 in this opening line. That's what I mean. To avoid this unnecessary complications. d4. All right, that's interesting. The things are getting really dynamic. I'm tempted just to take on e4 to start with, because I believe it's the move that black is gonna make anyway. And I have a feeling that after rook takes c4, I will have sort of d5. And if d4 takes c5 right now, then I just take the knight and sort of damage the pawn structure seriously. Rook takes c4, d5, attacking the rook and the bishop. Bishop takes, queen takes, rook is hanging. If d5, after d5, then I just take the rook. Feels like good stuff for black, I mean. White definitely has more hanging pieces than black. The most important point here is that if white wants to go away with the rook, then rook e1 is probably strictly the only move. Because rook e2, I just take the bishop and pawn d4 is pinned. Queen on d1 is hanging. Now it's also not so good for white, because I take on d4. Bishop is still hanging. And if cd4, then bishop b4. Sorry, I'm a bit distracted here. My family members. Okay, bishop b4. That's what I wanted to play. So now the rook is hanging and the bishop. So it feels like I'm winning the exchange. Bishop d3. Okay, let's take the rook. Should be technically winning position. I do believe there are different. Sorry. Oh, come on. There are different ways to win this one. Bishop f5, for example, is very simple and very efficient way to complete the development and to simplify position a bit, potentially neutralizing the most annoying piece. Rook takes f3 is also something good looking. So rook takes f3, g takes f3. I mean, knight takes d4, creating sort of a fork. Isn't it just a one move threat or something? So let's say king goes to g2. Then what? Not quite sure. But that's an interesting stuff. So let's try it. I believe it's not the best move for black. So bishop f5 was the strongest. All this tactics is not justified when you already have an advantage. All right. Unless it leads to something absolutely concrete and quick. But it's not the case here, I think. On the other hand, no, I don't have knight takes h2 against king g2 because knight takes on h2 simply. So to king g2, black has to come back with the knight to f6, I think. Which is also quite good, obviously, but as I said, it was not necessary to take all these risks. But queen d1 is quite bad. I guess now I have queen h4. Very strong move. F takes g4, bishop takes g4. And then we are very quick to checkmate. Another simple move is knight to e5 now. That is probably very annoying. Just knight e5, attacking f3. Second time now. I also have queen f6 as a follow-up. If bishop goes to e2, I can simply take it. Or maybe play queen f6 again. Because after bishop e2, queen f6, queen takes d4, fails to knight takes f3. Check and takes the queen. Yeah, probably queen f6 is stronger than taking on e2. All right. Finally, bishop to f5. As I said, it was the strongest move many moves ago. Instead of taking on f3, I should have played this. Okay. My position is anyway quite pleasant because white has very, very weak king. And I have, of course, a lot of extra time on the clock. So what was the main reason of white's struggling here in this game? I think d4 was not correct. It was simply not in time. Instead, I suppose it was an interesting try just to play h3 to get rid of the knight and then just to take on f5 first and then d4 at the right moment. But to be completely honest, it's better just to play h3 here, preventing knight to g4. That's it. It solves all the problem connected with this f7, f5 play. And yeah, white just continues with his standard plan. All right, thank you very much, guys, for this evening. Sorry again for rescheduling. That was because of my state of health. Hopefully next week we will get back to the normal schedule. So training Tuesday and Banter Blitz on Thursday. Okay. Wish you all the best. Have a nice weekend. Play chess. Take care. Bye bye.